Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a really useful English tense that's all about connecting the dots, the present perfect continuous. You know, it's the perfect tool for explaining how something that was happening in the past is having a direct effect on what's happening right now. So let's jump right in.
Okay, picture this. You walk outside, the ground is totally soaked, but there's not a drop of rain in sight. You can see the result of a past action, right? Well, this is exactly the kind of mystery the present perfect continuous was made to solve. And the answer? Simple. It's been raining.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get to the heart of the concept, that past-present connection. Then we'll actually build the tense from scratch. After that, we'll look at the two key situations where you'll use it, untangle the difference between for and since, and finally, we'll wrap up with some common mistakes so you can avoid them.
So what's the big idea here? Well, at its core, this tense is all about connection. It's for an action that started in the past but has a direct result or is maybe even still happening in this very moment. Seriously, think of it as the bridge between then and now.
Okay, time to look under the hood and see how this thing is actually built. Now, I know the name present perfect continuous can sound a little intimidating, but trust me, the formula behind it is actually super simple, kind of like following a recipe.
And here's our recipe, just 4 simple parts. You start with your subject, I, he, the team, whatever. Then you add either have or has. Third, you pop in the magic word that's always there, been. And to finish it off, you take your main verb and just add ing to the end. That's it.
And you can see right here how that simple formula works in any situation. For a positive sentence, it's totally straightforward. I have been waiting. To make it negative, you just tuck the word not in there to get it hasn't been raining. And if you want to ask a question, you just flip the first 2 words around. Have you been running? See? The basic recipe stays the same.
Now, here's a huge tip if you want to sound more natural when you speak. Use contractions. In a real conversation, we almost never say, I have been. We say, I've been. We don't say, he has been. We say, he's been. And the same goes for the negatives, haven't been and hasn't been. Seriously, this little trick will make your spoken English sound so much more natural.
All right, so we know how to build it. But now for the really big question, when do we actually use it? Well, it turns out there are pretty much 2 main jobs that this tense was made for. Let's break them down.
So, the first big use is for an action that has just finished, but you can see or feel or hear the result of it right now. Yeah, the action itself is done, but the proof, the evidence, is still all around you.
This is the classic example. I mean, the actual running part, that's over. I'm not moving anymore. But the result, the fact that I'm tired and out of breath, that's happening right now. See, the focus isn't on the run itself, it's on what caused me to be so tired right now.
And the second main job? Well, this one's for an action that started sometime in the past and is, you guessed it, still happening. It's not finished yet. It's still in progress.
So with this example, the waiting started way back this morning, and guess what? It's still happening now. She hasn't stopped. This is all about emphasizing that long, unbroken line of action, that duration, stretching from the past right up to this very moment.
Okay, so when we talk about how long something has been happening, 2 little words pop up all the time, for and since. You can think of these as the time markers that give our sentences some real precision.
So how do you know which one to use? It's actually really easy. You use for when you're talking about a period or a length of time, like for 3 hours or for 2 months. For always answers the question, how long? On the other hand, you use since to name the specific starting point of the action, since 9 o'clock or since last year. Just remember, for is for a duration and since is for a starting point.
All right, you've got the structure, you've got the main uses down pat. For our last section, let's talk about a couple of common mistakes, the little tripwires people often run into, so you can sidestep them and use this tense with total confidence.
So you might wonder, when do I say I have read versus I have been reading? Well, it's all about focus. If you say I have read that book, your focus is on completion. The task is finished, it's done. But if you say I have been reading that book, the focus shifts to the activity itself. It's about how you've been spending your time. And hey, you might not even be finished with it yet.
Okay, this next one is a really important rule, and it trips up a lot of people.
You see, some verbs in English don't really describe actions, they describe states or conditions. Words like know, love, or understand. We call these stative verbs, and here's the key. Because they aren't actions, you just can't use them with that ing ending.
And you will see this mistake all the time, especially online. Somebody will write, "I have been loving this site." And look, the enthusiasm is fantastic, but grammatically, it's not quite right. And why? Because love is a stative verb. It describes a state of feeling, not something you're actively doing.
So what's the big takeaway here? The rule is simple. If you're using one of these state verbs, you have to switch over to the present perfect simple. So it's never I've been knowing him, it's always I have known him. Not I've been wanting this, but I have wanted this. Honestly, getting this detail right is one of those things that really separates intermediate from advanced speakers. All right, let's wrap this up with a quick recap. The present perfect continuous is your go-to tense for connecting the past to the present, especially when you want to focus on the duration of an action or its recent results. So now it's your turn to practice. Answer this question for me in the comments below. How long have you been learning English? Try to use for or since in your answer. You did an awesome job today. Thanks so much for tuning in.